Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning and welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, Joe Sellepack. I'm the Executive Director at the Broome County Council of Churches. One of our programs has a lot to do with the elderly. It works trying to keep senior citizens in our community living independently in their own homes for people who are over the age of 60. And the more I get toward the age of 60, the more I realize just how important this program is. It helps people with getting to the grocery store. It helps folks who need a ride to a doctor's appointment. It makes the transition into being an older adult, easier on our community. How important is the work of Faith in Action volunteers in helping people remain independent?
Well, I think the most important is just that the need out there is huge. There are so many people. I mean, as the aging population continues to grow, and it's not going to stop for a while, it's really important because these people have health issues. If they can't get to the doctor, then their quality of life is not as good as it could be. Same with getting groceries and food, and just even having a little bit of friendship with our volunteers, the relationships that they build. It just makes our community healthier.
Yeah. My guests today are Sue Spencer and Larese Isaacson, they work with our Faith in Action volunteers. Sue is our program coordinator, program director. Correct. Of the Faith in Action volunteers. She's in management role, and Larese is our program coordinator for Faith in Action volunteers. Welcome to Encounter today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I've been impressed with is, as families age in our area, oftentimes their relatives, the people that are they're young, their children, folks who are related to these folks, oftentimes have moved out of the area, and as a result, they're isolated from family. They feel as if like they've been forgotten in some cases, and one of the things that Faith in Action volunteers does that you talked about, which I think is incredibly important, Sue, is those connections that can kind of be made between people, because they do feel isolated, they do feel alone.
Sure. Yeah, I think isolation is a huge issue because most of them, maybe their spouse has passed away or they don't have a spouse. Like you said, their families are not living in the area, and unfortunately there are some whose families don't, even though they live in the area, may not be willing to do much to help. I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to have a doctor's appointment that is very important and not know how you're going to get there.
Right.
Those types of things, and just to have someone to chat with. I mean, we know people will call in for their to make an appointment with us for a driver, and we often spend more than maybe 5-10 minutes on the phone because they just like to chat. And,
right.
And we try to do that as much as we can. I mean, some people would like to keep us a lot longer, but
but you do have work to do.
We do have work to do, and they're interesting to talk to too. So sometimes we get caught on the other side. We're like, oh, this is fun too. But really, our volunteers are wonderful because they're very personable, very friendly. So when they do drive someone, even if it's just once or for the first time, I think they make them feel very comfortable. So.
Yeah. Now, Larese, one of the programs that you work with is Chop and Chat.
Yes.
Do you want to tell our viewers and our listeners what Chop and Chat is.
Sure. So Chop and Chat was designed to fight social isolation and food insecurity among seniors. What I do, when the program first started, it was small and they'd bring a meal and they'd split it. What it has become is I bring vegetarian meals because we cannot provide the meat, and I wanted to make sure they have everything they need to make the meal. And I bring it to senior centers. Right now I have 5 locations. And we chop it up, they bag it up, and they bring it home to cook. The point is kind of everybody gathers in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So when we're all gathered together, it makes it go faster. You don't even realize you're prepping. And that's one of the complaints they have. I don't want to stand in the kitchen and prep my food by myself.
Right.
So the social isolation part is they make friends, they connect, we connect over food, they love the stories about my kids and my cats. They, and we all become friends. I can say I probably have another 140 friends just from doing Chop and Chat every month.
Yeah, and you focus on senior centers, is that correct?
Yes, senior centers. I used to, pre-COVID, we had 9 locations. We did senior centers and like apartment complexes for seniors. But since COVID, we had to drop everything down. So right now we're up to 5 locations again.
All right, thank you, Larese. So you're talking a little bit about how COVID has influenced your program. How else has COVID kind of had an impact on Faith in Action?
Well, when COVID first started, of course, we were concerned about the health of not just our clients, but also our volunteers. And actually, 99% of our volunteers are seniors themselves. So we stopped driving to medical appointments. I think a lot of the people got their medical appointments telehealth at that, during that time. But we also stopped taking people to the grocery store. And that was a little bit of an issue. So we kind of had to play around with online grocery shopping to help these people get their groceries. The bigger undertaking than we ever expected. But,
I can imagine.
It was taking a, yeah, I hear her sigh. It was taking a program that's made for individuals and turning it into one for groups. And we got kicked off quite a bit. Because they thought we were scamming.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Because we'd use different credit cards. So we ended up just getting one credit card and then having people pay us back. But it actually went pretty well. But I think everybody was happy when they could go back to the store.
Yeah. Well, that social isolation that you were talking about before, I mean, it's a big thing. We don't realize how many social interactions a person does when they go to the grocery store, right?
Yeah,
so,
and those phone orders over the phone could last 45, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, because not only were they giving you their list, they were explaining all these little stories about about this food or that food or what they're going to make, But
or why they want this particular product and not all the other products that might be the same.
That's right, and. So it had a big impact on that. Of course, we couldn't build ramps during that time either, and our senior living ministry in the nursing homes kind of halted too, and that's been slow coming back. I think we have 3 locations we are doing them for now, and I'm working with our volunteer that coordinates that to try to get that back up because I know that's much needed as well. So.
Yeah.
But we're pretty much back up and running now. I think our numbers of trips and things are back up to what they were pre-COVID. So,
and we're again building wheelchair ramps for the last 2. This will be our 2nd season post-COVID, right?
Right. Yes, our coordinator Bob Bundy's busy getting ready, out doing site visits and getting letters out to the build teams. So we will be building this year.
And how would a person, if they need to have a ramp built, how would they be able to contact you about that?
Well, they could call Bob, the coordinator, directly, and we can either mail them or email them the application that they would have to fill out and then return it. And once he gets that, he goes through it and he has a priority scale and he figures out if they're eligible or not, and then he would do a home visit. To map things out, see if it's even feasible to do. Sometimes trees are in the way, things are in the way. because we do build to ADA standards, so we have some pretty strict
Right.
things we have to follow as far as the height and the distance and all of that.
Right.
So.
It's always impressed me how large these ramps are, you know, and how complicated the build actually is.
They're like masterpieces.
They really are.
I build with Ramp It Up, and I think the biggest ramp we ever did was 320 feet
Yeah.
of ramp space.
And 320 feet would be 1 foot over 10 inches, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's for a 32 inch rise.
Yeah,
so
it was a big ramp, and we did it in the worst weather possible. It rained, snowed, sleet, wind. It was awful, but it was it's so worth it. Ramp It Up is just an amazing program.
Yeah, I used to coordinate when Ramp It Up started. I helped build, I think, about 10 ramps. So the first, in the first couple of maybe 3 years, I was one of the people that was a site coordinator. So I got used to it. It was pretty fun, and it was interesting to be involved with the team too, because a lot of those kids have differing experience with power tools, and some of them are very new to it, and some of them have been around them forever. So it's like, it was very interesting that way.
It's great for both. I mean, the kids and the person that's getting the ramp. When I first started, I had no idea about a ramp. Now, I expected. Now when I drive around and I see those ramps that are just like a piece of plywood up, and I cringe, I shudder. So I remember when we first started the program, there was one that we took off of a house that was kind of like this. They just set it on top of the steps, and then they wheeled the person up and down it. And what we did was we showed how dangerous that was by taking a wheelchair and then starting it at the top and then having it, releasing it and letting it go down on the bottom. And man, I just imagine what it was being like if you were a senior having to, hold it and then let somebody down that thing. It was just so dangerous. Yeah, it is. And I mean, that's what the nice thing about Ramp It Up is. It's building you a good ramp, sturdy ramp. And most of the ramps we do are at no cost to the person we're building for, and it makes our community safer for seniors, so.
Right. Yeah. So the number that somebody could call was 724-9130. What's Bob's extension number? Do you know off the top of your head? Just
323.
323. Extension 323.
I think.
Well, yeah.
Or they can call me at 304
at
and
304.
I can direct them.
It's so 724-9130 extension 323.
Yes.
And or 304.
Or 304.
All right, very good.
But yes, and I think we ended last season. We had built, since we started, we've built 202 ramps.
202.
Yeah.
So this year we'll be over 225 almost.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, Larese, what you've been an employee for how long at Faith in Action?
I started volunteering 8 years ago this year.
8 years ago, and what has been your the greatest impact on you?
I was just thinking this. The greatest impact was a ramp I actually built, and it was a man who had not left his house in 5 years, not even in his driveway. And when we built the ramp and he sat in his driveway for the first time, we all cried. And this is the first time I've been out of my house in 5 years. So it was just so incredible to me. And I got so much out of that experience just because I saw the struggle that these people face without having something as simple as a wheelchair ramp. I mean, it's not simple to build or anything, but just that one accommodation can change someone's life to the extent of finally being free.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, the work that you do at Faith in Action kind of mirrors that in a lot of ways. I mean, you don't realize just how isolated people are until they've until you've had that conversation with them on the phone, where where they're just starving for attention, or starving to hear another person's voice. It's incredible to me. And how many minutes would it take somebody really to make an impact like that if they wanted to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think our volunteers realize the impact that they have. But of course, volunteers are pretty humble anyway. We have great volunteers that start out, I'm just going to do, a few here and there, but then it's like a disease. It's like a flu. It just keeps spreading through, and because the more they help, the more they want to help, because they meet these very cool people that have stories and are fun to talk to, and they develop these relationships. I think that's my favorite part of the whole program, is the relationships that form between the volunteer and the client. And that's what keeps us going as our volunteers. And without them, we wouldn't have a program.
Right, exactly. My guests today are Sue Spencer, our Faith in Action director, and Larese Isaacson, who is our program coordinator for Faith in Action volunteers. So in next month, on I think it's April 27th.
Yes.
We are having a special event for Faith in Action volunteers. You want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Sure. On April 27th will be our 24th annual Lives of Commitment Awards Breakfast, where we honor volunteers. And we have 3 wonderful volunteers this year that we will be celebrating, along with all volunteers. I like to celebrate all volunteers while I'm there, but and we'll be hearing more about their stories and why they volunteer, and all the good work that they're doing in our community.
So every year we honor 3 volunteers, one from like the general community, another one from like all the programs of the council,
right,
and then a third one from Faith in Action
from
volunteers.
Faith in Action, yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the Faith in Action one?
Okay, sure.
Volunteer?
Sure. I don't like to give too many details. I want people to come and
Well,
hear
of
them.
course, yeah.
But this year's volunteer works with our shopper program, which is a program through Office for Aging, where they get funding for that, and then we are like the one that finds the volunteers for them. And the shopper program, I'm not sure how long that's been going on, but basically it's a one-on-one where the client would have the same volunteer shopping for them on a regular basis. And they're shopping for people that can't easily get out of their house, so they're doing shop from a list. And our honoree this year, she's very good at what she does. I should mention her name probably.
Well, you don't have to. That might be enough mystery.
That's a mystery, yes. And she works with some very special people with disabilities, and she's spreading the love of volunteering to these people, while she's also building some really good relationships with a few of our clients, to the point where she's doing a lot more than just buying groceries. So,
yeah.
And we're really impressed with her and her whole attitude about this. She's been doing it for years. So
one of the things that we've done is we have a Jeff Kellum, who is one of the encounter hosts, goes to these folks, and he talks to them about their story, and he records it and then makes a video based on that. And usually the video itself is shows a lot bigger story than just the the nuts and bolts that kind of go on. So it's one of my favorite days of the year, is just listening to the stories and getting connected with volunteers, and why it's important for us to volunteer in our community. And you see some amazing things.
Yes.
That people are able to do, right?
These people are just so dedicated and so caring, and it's very hard to get sometimes a story out of them, because they're not looking for recognition. And usually when I call an honoree or someone to ask them to be an honoree, last year we had one that said yes and then said no. And then we talked him into coming back and doing it. So they don't want to be in the limelight because they don't do it for that. They don't do it for the recognition.
I had to get on the phone and actually convince him.
I know.
Yeah, I'd say, oh, I know you very well.
Yes. So I mean, it's a great way to start your day, this breakfast, because you leave feeling very empowered and you know a little more about the good stuff going on in your community instead of all the bad news. So.
And number of years ago, I remember one of the honorees talking about why she volunteered, and she started off by saying, I've retired, and after about a month, I did all the projects around the house that I had to get done, and my life was pretty much set, and I'm sitting there in my living room looking around going, what's next? What should I do? Realizing I don't have anything else to do. And so she starts thinking, well, if this is all there is, this is going to be a really tough thing, retirement. And so she started looking at volunteer programs, and she found Faith in Action volunteers. She came to the first volunteer orientation, and you welcomed her and you made her feel like she was part of the team, and an important part of what we do at the council. But then she went on her first volunteer opportunity to take somebody to a grocery store, and she was reminiscing about the fact that the volunteer experience was so impactful for her as a volunteer. She went as far as to say, this saved my life. I still remember that, that phrase, this saved my life. And I'm just blown away by it, that our volunteers feel so connected to what they do, that they realize that this is such an integral part of their life, that without it they wouldn't be human. Just shows you just how important the work that you do is.
Well, yeah, and our volunteers, like I said, are great, and to volunteer for us, there's no time commitment. You don't have to, we make a schedule easy. It's whatever you can do, and I don't know. We'll sit there and we'll look at the list of appointments, and we'll go, how are we ever going to fill these? And by the end of the week, they're filled. So it's just, people are wonderful, very generous people with their time.
Now, Larese, if a person wanted to be involved in Chop and Chat, so we have senior centers around the area. How would they get connected to your program?
Sure. If they wanted to come, we go to Vestal, Johnson City, Western Broome and Endicott, Harpersville, and First Ward. And they can sign up. They have to sign up the week prior. Or they can call the office, 724-9130, extension 334. I'm always looking for volunteers to run them. Actually, Harpersville runs their own. It's quite streamlined, which is really nice, and that way I can add a lot more locations. So if anyone wants to volunteer, bring some happiness and some food, call me up. I'd love it. But yeah, so connect with the senior centers. I'm trying to get into more. I'd love to get into one they just opened in Shenango Bridge. Yeah, so that's about it, really.
All right, very good. So, we have a few minutes left. So, what do you think about the impact of your program, Sue?
Well, as I age, I really see the benefits of it. I think the impact of our program is taking care of people who've spent their lives building our community, working, raising families, living in our community, and for all those years, and now they find themselves all alone. And I think the impact is our obligation to make sure that they can enjoy the rest of their life too, just like anybody else. So I really, I see people who have worked all their lives in some kind of a career, and now they're struck with several health issues, and it's just harder to get around. And I think it's great that we can bring a little joy and a little help to their lives. I think that's what we're called to do.
Yeah, I can't help but think about, the 1,000 points of light. We are one of those points of light for a person, allowing them to see that life is filled with graciousness and kindness and care, and helping define that for people. I think that's really an important role of what you do. You have anything to add, Larese?
I find I get more out of it than I think my clients do. I honestly do. Whatever I'm doing in the council, really. 1 in 15 seniors nationwide face food insecurity, and social isolation causes so many health problems as well. Some of my participants, they've lost weight, their diabetes is under control, their blood pressure is under control, their cholesterol is under control, and they made new friends. So it really, I think it impacts more than we know in their lives. So yeah, I really love what I do. I love it. It's my passion. I'm called to it, and I can't wait to add more locations, get it back up to pre-COVID levels.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talk a lot about at the Council of Churches, is the difference between calling and your job. We all have, things that we do every day that's part of the job, right? But it's the calling that pulls us, right? And that keeps us in the work, and that keeps us grounded in what we do, right? So it's important for me as the executive director to know that people are called to the work, and that it's an important part of them. And I find that in both you, Larese, and in you, Sue. You're an inspiration to me, and you're also an inspiration to the community when they see the work that you're able to do. So thank you for being on Encounter with me today. And to all of you, I wish you a good and kind Lord's Day this Sunday. Have a great day.